me reading. I'm reading from my own highlighted section, and I'm going to post this highlighted Gemara as well on Google Classroom. I'm not exactly sure. I was having a hard time figuring out an easy way to condense, only upload what we did. But this is a pretty easy way to, you can scroll through, and we did the highlighted stuff. Here we go. Ben Sora Moreh, Mishnah introduces, we're on Daf Samachan Amabet here. Ben Sora Moreh, so introducing the concept of Ben Sora Moreh, Me'imatai na'aseh Ben Sora Moreh. From when? What is the period at which you can become a Ben Sora Moreh? Mishnah answers, Mishiavi Shtei Sa'arot, from when you grow, from when they come 2 hairs, meaning 2 pubic hairs, Va'ad She'akif Zakan, and until, the word hakafot, until there is a encircling of the beard. And the Mishnah tells us, hatachton velo ha'elyon. We're talking here about the lower beard, meaning the pubic area, velo ha'elyon, not the upper beard, ela shedibru chachamim bilashon nekiya, but the chachamim spoke in clean language. And they said it could have been more direct, but it called it a beard, called that lower region of hair a beard, and not pubic hair or something like that. And now the way we know this is the range from 2 pubic hairs until you have a lower beard. Shneimar ki hiyel ish ben. So when introducing the psukim in the Torah, it says when a man has a son, ben velo bat. So one thing we interpret is that it has to be a son and not a daughter. So a girl cannot become ben sora moreh. Ben velo ish. So a son, a kid, and not an adult. And we said once you have a full lower beard, you are an adult. And also, katan patur, a minor is exempt, shelo ba lichlal mitzvot, because a minor is not included, a minor has not reached the rules of mitzvot. And before 2 pubic hairs, as we said, you are a katan. So before 2 pubic hairs, you're a katan. After a full beard, you are an ish. So you're the sweet spot here in that time period. Gemara asks, katan minalan de patur. What is the source that a minor is exempt from being executed? Minalan, from where? It's asking rhetorically, from where? First thing we say is kidikatani tama. As the Mishnah taught a reason. The Mishnah told you the reason. Shelo ba lichlal mitzvot. Because a minor has not reached the age of mitzvot, has not entered the rules of mitzvot. That's why he's exempt. V'tu, and additionally, heicha ashkechan. That means, where do we find, Eifo anachnu motzim, where do we find de'anash hakatuv, that the katuv, the Torah, gives a punishment, an onesh? Where else do we ever find the Torah punishes a minor? Dehacha, that here, li ba'ikra lemifterei, that I would require a pasuk to exempt him. He's exempt everywhere. Why would I need a specific proof that he's exempt here? So we said if Ruvain is exempt from all SAR rules, why would I need a specific source that he's exempt from coming to class? So for these 2 reasons, the Gemara is saying the question of this first question is a dumb question. It doesn't even deserve an answer. It's crazy. Anan hachikam rinan. This is what we're saying. This is how we can say the question. This is actually a fair question. Why is a katan exempt? Number 1, Atu, since ben sorer umoreh al chet'o neherag, is a ben sorer umoreh killed neherag for his sin? No. Al shem sofo neherag. He's killed for his future actions. The kevan de al shem sofo neherag, and since it is for his future actions he is killed, afilu katan nami. Maybe so even a katan also. That maybe, okay, I understand, I don't kill a katan for current sins, but this is unique. This is, we're talking about future sins. Maybe you can kill a katan for future sins, and therefore you need to explain to me why we don't. The od, and also, ben velo ish, when the Mishnah had said ben velo ish, that the punishment of ben sora moreh applies to kids and not adults, katan mashma. That kind of sounds like we're talking about a katan. A minor is a type of kid. Usually, if I said something that this rule applies to kids or to adolescents, maybe we would think that applies to minors as well. So we kind of have responded that this question makes sense. Katan minan de patur. How do we know a katan is patur? The answer to that question, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav. To Amar Krab, because the pasuk says, V'chi yel ish ben, from interpreting that pasuk, when a man has a son, ben hasamuch ligvurato shel ish. Since the word ben and ish are put right next to each other, the kid, the ben sora moreh, has to be a kid who is samuch, who is close to the strength of an adult. So we're saying that a katan is not close. We said in class, If I was going to fight a bunch of an 8-year-old, that's not a real fight. That's not close. A 10-year-old, or maybe let's say a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, okay, so he's close to the strength of a man. Still not full strength, but at least you're close. So that's how you have. So an ish, you're too old. If you're katan, you're not yet samuch ligvurato shel ish. You're only samuch ligvurato shel ish. You're only close to the strength of a man in that narrow window that we mentioned. After, like, you're older than a katan, but you're not yet a full ish. Okay. Next, so we scroll down a few pages in the PDF to Ayin Amud Aleph. Me'ematai chayav. Now the Mishnah is wondering, okay, so once the kid is the right age, what does he actually do? When does he actually become liable? Misheyochal tretimar basar, from when he eats a tretimar of meat, v'yishta, and he drinks chatzi log yayin ha'italki, and he drinks a half log of Italian wine. Rabbi Yossi Omer, maneh basar v'log yayin. Rabbi Yossi says a maneh, a different measure of meat, v'log yayin, and a log of wine. So let's just do Rashi quickly here. Yayin ha'italki, Italian wine. Tov u'ulehu, because it's good and it's excellent. Umamshich batrei, our key word here. Mamshich means to be drawn after. He will become addicted after it, following it. Aval b'chamra achrina, but with other wine, chamra achrina, yayin acher, eino chayav b'chatzi log. He doesn't become obligated if he drinks that amount. It's not, the quality is not high enough for us to say that he is addicted. Okay, now we get into the list of exemptions, the list of ways that we don't execute him if he does it in these circumstances. Achal b'chaburat mitzvah, if he eats in a mitzvah group, like we said, like people at a wedding or a bar mitzvah. Achal b'ibor hachodesh, he eats at the kind of Rosh Chodesh festival. If they were making the full month of 30-day month, they would have a tiny little, like a little kiddush. So if he's eating his meat and wine at this little Rosh Chodesh ceremony. Achal ma'aser sheni b'Yerushalayim, if he eats, said ma'aser sheni is food that would be brought to Yerushalayim every few years to be eaten. So if he's using ma'aser sheni money in Yerushalayim, he's kind of doing the mitzvah of ma'aser sheni in Yerushalayim. Achal nevelot u'shtreifot shkatzim remasim, if he eats, these are different types of unkosher food. You don't have to know exactly, like things that died without shechita, or things that shechita wasn't good enough, or like rodents and things like that. A bunch of different types of unkosher meat. Achal davar shehu mitzvah, if he eats a mitzvah item. Gemara will get into what exactly that means. V'davar shehu aveira, or he eats an aveira item, an aveira thing. So in all these cases, the Gemara say achal kol ma'achal v'lo achal basar. If he eats all foods but not meat, so he eats pizza and a fish and vegetables. Shata kol mashkeh, if he drinks any drink, v'lo shata yayin, but he doesn't drink wine. Eino na'asa ben soreh moreh. He's not a ben soreh moreh, which applies to all of these things here. In all these cases, he's not a ben soreh moreh. Ad sheyochal basar v'yishteh yayin, until he eats meat and drinks wine. So all of these he's exempt. Shene'emar, and the way we know that it has to be meat and wine, is zolel v'soveh. So his parents call him a glutton, meaning he eats too much, and a drunkard. So we have to explain, okay, but you can be a glutton by eating too much pizza and a drunkard by drinking too much beer. So the Gemara says, the Mishnah says, Afal pi she'einu ra'ayala davar. There's no proof that these two words here, zolel v'soveh, mean meat and wine, but there is zeicher l'davar. There's a hint to this idea. Shena Emar, as the pasuk in Mishlei says, Book of Proverbs, al tehi b'soaveh yayin, don't be among the drunkards of wine, b'zolei basar lama, or among the gluttons of meat. So we see soveh, zolel, zolel, and in this pasuk, soveh means yayin, and zolel, glutton, means basar. So in our pasuk, it must also mean that zolel means yayin, and zolel means basar, and soveh means yayin. Gemara now comes in. Amar Rabbi Zera, tretimar ze eini yodei mahu. Rabbi Zera says, I don't actually know what a tretimar is. It's a measurement that he was unfamiliar with. Ella mitoch shekafal Rabbi Yossi beyayin. But since I see that Rabbi Yossi doubled the wine amount, chatzi log to log, nimtza kofel af bebasar. So it must be he's also doubling the meat. V'nimtza tretimar chatzi maneh. Now we know, just basic algebra, that a tretimar must be a chatzi maneh. Now a statement of Rav Chanan bar Molda. Amar Rav Chanan bar Molda. Amar Rav Huna. Rav Chanan bar Molda says the name of Rav Huna. Eino chayav. He is not obligated ad sheikach, until he purchases basar bizol. Means he buys cheap meat v'yochal yayin bizol. Ad sheikach basar vazol v'yochal, until he buys cheap meat and eats it. Yain bezol v'yishteh. And he drinks and he buys cheap wine and drinks it. So the first statement here is that the wine needs to be cheap and the meat needs to be cheap. Rashi over here, yayin bezol aval biyoker, if it was expensive, if the wine was expensive, lo shchichi le maot lignov kulehai. So lo shchichi le means it won't be common for him. Maot means kesef, money. So it will not be common for him to have money lignov kulehai, to steal that much. So if he's buying expensive meat, he's not going to be able to steal that much money very often, or it's going to take him a long time to steal it. Velo mamshich. So therefore, it won't be a behavior that can continue because he's not going to be able to kind of build up the addiction because it's not easy for him to get his hands on that much money. And Dichtiv, and the Gemara says the reason we know it needs to be cheap is zolel v'sove. So he said, not a great hint. Rashi even says it's kind of just a hint. It's not a real source. The word zolel, glutton, includes the word zol, cheap. Second statement of Rav Chanan bar Bolda. Amar Rav Chanan bar Bolda, Amar Rav Huna. Eino chayav, he's not obligated. Ad sheyochal basar chai v'yishteh yayin chai. He needs to eat raw meat and drink, we said, undiluted wine that does not have water mixed in. Ini, is this so? Really? It has to be raw and undiluted? Vaha, but Rabba of Rav Yosef, da Amri Tarvahu. Rabba and Rav Yosef, both of them say, Achal basar chai v'shatay yayin chai, eino nas ben sorero moreh. If you eat raw meat or drink raw wine, you are not a ben sorero moreh. So an exact refutation of what Rav Chanan bar Bolda says. So what's he going to say? Amar Ravina, this is Ravina is going to come and solve it. When we say yayin chai, when we said that the wine needs to be undiluted, we mean mazig velo mazig. Mazig means diluted. So it means diluted, but not fully diluted. We say semi-diluted. So we're kind of making a compromise position. No, it doesn't actually mean raw and undiluted. It means semi-diluted. Basar chai, raw meat, means bashil velo bashil. It means cooked and not fully cooked. So like rei or something like that. And it gives us an example. Kibasar keva, like the charcoal grilled meat, to achli ganve, that bandits eat. That type of like a bandit who's afraid of getting caught is just going to throw his meat on the coal for a few seconds just so it's not fully raw. That's what the ben sorero moreh has to eat. Semi-raw, semi-diluted. Okay, you can go to the Gemara on the next Amud, Daf Ayin Amud Bet, where we kind of get a little bit further into those exceptions. Achal b'chaburat mitzvah, if he eats in a mitzvah group. Amar Rabbi Abahu said, we missed a Rashi there. Rashi on Yayin Chai. So we just did the beginning here. Mamshich mipnei shemishu bachu. So the wine needs to be diluted, raw or undiluted or semi-diluted, because that is mamshich. That's going to be addictive. Mipnei shemishu bachu. It's better quality. It tastes better. You're getting a more full wine experience if it's undiluted. If you water it down with water, it's not as strong. It's not as alcoholic, etc. Okay, back to the Gemara on the next Amud. Achal b'chaburat mitzvah. Amar Rabbi Abahu. The Bible says, "Eino chayav," he's not obligated, ad sheyochal b'chabura shekulas rikin, unless he eats in a group in which everyone is a thug, or we said a bum. Probably the best way to translate it. So Rabbi Abahu says that he's only obligated if the group that he's with are made up entirely of bums. But we said if there's one non-bum, he is going to be he's not going to be chayav. Rashi, let's read Rashi here. Shekulas rikin, that they're all bums. Rekim, they are empty people. Sheyargi luhu bekach, like the word ragil. They will make him accustomed. This will become normal for him. That it kind of encourages behavior. Aval, but im yesh bechabura adam hagun, if in the group there is a proper person, a good normal person, bechi hagavna, in this circumstance, lo mamshich. He does not. He's not going to continue the behavior if there's someone there to kind of like set him right. Ve'ino na'asa ben sorero moreh, and you can ignore these last few words. We didn't do those. And he does not become ben sorero moreh. So that's Rabbi Abahu's statement. The Gemara responds, "V'ha'anan snan," but didn't we teach in the Mishnah? V'halo anachnu lamadu b'Mishnah achal b'chaburat mitzvah. If you eat in a mitzvah group, eino na'asa ben sorero moreh. That's what the Mishnah had said. And a very close reading of the Mishnah. If we focus on what the Mishnah is saying, tama de mitzvah. The reason you're exempt in the Mishnah when there's a chaburat mitzvah is because they're doing a mitzvah, meaning that the Mishnah seems to care about is your group doing a mitzvah or not doing a mitzvah? The actions of your group. Rabbi Abahu is coming in. He's kind of determining things by the quality of your group. Is your group of good people or bad people? Which seems to not be what the Mishnah is focusing on. Ha-lav mitzvah, but if you're not doing a mitzvah, afal gav delav kulas rikin, even if not everyone is a bum. So even it sounds like if you just read the Mishnah, if you have a group of 2 good people and 8 bums, but you're not doing a mitzvah, all the Mishnah cares about is, are you doing a mitzvah or are you not doing a mitzvah? So it seems to be inconsistent with Rabbi Abahu's statement. So that we resolve the kind of tension between Rabbi Abahu and the Mishnah. Ha kamash malan. This is what the Mishnah is actually teaching us. Da afal gav dekulas rikin. Even if the group is entirely made of bums, kevan de mitzvah ka'asik. Since they are doing a mitzvah, they're involved. Ka'asik means they are involved with a mitzvah. Lo mimshich. It's not going to be addictive. It's not going to continue. So the Gemara kind of says that we say both of them are true. Rabbi Abahu is correct that if your group has a good person, it kind of lifts you up. The quality of the people kind of affects you. And the Mishnah is also correct that the mitzvah affects you. That even if you're with a group of entirely bums, so if you have 20 bums all sitting at a bar mitzvah meal, the mitzvah kind of uplifts them and says that the actions will not be mamshich, will not be addictive. Okay, next down here. Achal davar shehu mitzvah, so v'davar avera, so you eat a mitzvah item or an avera item. Davar mitzvah tanchumei avelim. A mitzvah item is, we said, tanchumei avelim, comforting mourners. So the food at a shiva house, the seudah after you come back from a funeral. So let's say he's eating shiva house food. That's the davar mitzvah. Davar avera tanit tzibur. An avera item is food on a public fast day. So those are the examples that the Gemara gives, and Rashi interprets as follows. So tanchumei avelim, da'afal gav, even though takanta derabanan ba'almahu, it is a merely, ba'alma means merely, it is merely a rabbinic decree, a takana, a decree derabanan. So comforting mourners, the laws of mourning, are merely a rabbinic decree. De'i, because if miresha initially hava amina, I would have believed. Chaburat mitzvah, when we say chaburat mitzvah, mitzvah group, hainu, that means kohanim she'ochlim kodshim opsachim. So I think that means like, korbanot, kohanim who are eating korbanot or the korban pesach. That's a mitzvah group, meaning that, and that is korbanot, obviously a deoraita mitzvah. So Rashi is pointing out that if it shows this example, initially I would have thought, okay, maybe only deoraita mitzvot are considered mitzvah things. But we say even derabanan mitzvot are considered mitzvah things. And ta'anit tzibur, public fast day, afal gav, even though Tisha B'Av, Shivas B'Tammuz, etc., de lo avar ella adarabanan, that he says a double negative here, you did not transgress on anything other than a derabanan, meaning you only transgressed on a derabanan. That still is considered an avera thing. That rabbinic mitzvot and rabbinic averot are considered in that category. V'tamamai, and what's the reason? Amar Kra, the pasuk says, Einenu shomea bekolenu, that his parents accuse him of not listening to our voice, meaning the voice of the parents. That's what they accuse him of. Bekolenu, meaning they don't listen to our voice. Velo bekolo shemakom, but it doesn't talk about not listening to Hashem's voice. So what's the reason you're exempt? If there's a davar aveira, if he's eating on a fast day, because if he's eating on a fast day, he's not listening to Hashem's voice as well, and that's kind of a different problem, or at least that's not what the Psukim say. The Psukim say the only thing it mentions is that he doesn't listen to his parents' voice. But if he's eating on a fast day, if he's doing a davar aveira, he's also not listening to Hashem's voice, which means we're not a ben sorah moreh anymore. Okay, last amud here, Ayin Aleph Amud Aleph. Ganav mishal aviv va'achal b'reshut aviv. So now this Mishnah introduces the variables of A, where is he eating it, and B, who did he steal from? So Ganav mishal aviv, he stole from his father, va'achal b'reshut aviv, and he ate it on his father's property. He eats it in his regular home. Case 2, Mishel acherim, he steals from others, from anyone else, va'achal b'reshut acherim, and he eats it in others' property. Mishel acherim, he steals from others, va'achal b'reshut aviv, and he eats it on his father's property. In all these cases, eino na'aseh ben sorah moreh, he does not become a ben sorah moreh, unless sheyignov mishel aviv, he steals from his father, v'yochal b'reshut acherim, and he eats on others' property. Rabbi Yossi b'Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yossi in the name of Rabbi Yehuda says, the son of Rabbi Yehuda says, Ad sheignov Michel Aviv u Michel Imo, that he has to steal. It can't just be not just stealing from his father. It has to be money that belongs to both his mother and his father. The Gemara says, kind of interpreting why is it that you're only chayav in this one specific case. Gadav Michel Aviv v'achal b'rshut Aviv. So if he steals from his father and eats it in his father's house, afal gav d'shchiach le. So even though in this case it is shchiach le, it is available for him. It's common for him, meaning that stealing from your parents is much easier than stealing from strangers. Stealing from strangers, you got to break into their house or pickpocket them or whatever. Stealing from your parents, you could just grab money from where they keep their wallet. So even though in this case it is common for him, it's available for him, which says like the cheap wine, that's not good. That means it's going to be addictive because he can do it often. If he's eating it in his father's property, ba'it means he's afraid. Rashi explains, mitpached me aviv. He's afraid of it from his father. Shelo yavin, that his father won't understand what's going on. So if he's eating it in his own house, he's going to be nervous. Is my father going to walk in? Is he going to understand what happened? That I stole money from him? Hilkach lo mamshich. So therefore, this behavior we're not concerned it's going to continue. It's going to develop an addiction because there's going to be fear kind of in this experience, and fear kind of will prevent him from getting truly addicted. But if he's eating it in public, if he's eating it in the park bench, then there's no fear. There's nothing to get caught. Or he's okay. It's a kid eating a steak. But no one's going to accuse him of anything. But if his father sees him in the house, be like, "Where'd you get that steak from? You don't have money." Etc. Okay. Case 2, Michel Acherim, if he steals from others, v'achal b'rshut Acherim, and he eats it in others' property, afagav de lo ba'it, even though there's no fear here because he's eating it in public in others' property, lo shchiach le. But stealing from others is not commonly available to him, so it's not going to develop an addiction. V'chol shekain, even more so, Michel Acherim, if he's stealing from others, v'achal b'rshut Aviv, and he's eating it in his father's house, de lo shchiach le uba'it. It's not common for him because he's stealing from others, and he's going to be afraid that his dad's going to figure out that he stole a steak here. Last case, ad sheyignov Michel Aviv yochal b'rshut acherim. So until he steals from his father and eats it in others' property, d'shchiach le, stealing from your father's property, stealing from your father's money is commonly available, v'lo ba'it, and there's going to be no fear because he's eating it in public. So it's both common and no fear involved, so that's when he's chayav. Last section here, haya aviv rotzeh v'imo eina rotzeh. So if his father wants to bring him into court, but his mother does not want to bring him to court, and the flip side, aviv eino rotzeh, his father doesn't want to bring him in, v'imo rotzeh, and his mother does, eino na'aseh ben sorer u'moreh, he does not become ben sorer u'moreh, ad sheyihu shnehem rotzin, unless both of them want to bring him into court. Rabbi Yehuda says, im lo haita imo, if his mother is not ri'uyah, that means appropriate, fitting, le'aviv, to his father, eino na'aseh ben sorer u'moreh. Now, we don't know exactly what that means. The Gemara is going to ask, but if your mother and your father are not appropriate or not fitting for each other, you cannot become a ben sorer u'moreh. My eina ri'uyah, what does that mean? What does it mean to not be appropriate for each other? Ilema, if you want to say, and we know that means it's going to get rejected, if you want to say, chayavei kritot v'chayavei mitot beitin, if you want to say that, that if the parents are not appropriate for each other, that means that they're involved in a forbidden relationship, like one that would be obligated for karet or for execution, like incest, something like that. But we reject that. Sof, at the end of the day, avua ninhu, his father is his father. This is like the word lihiyot. The ime ninhu, and his mother is his mother. So if your parents are in a forbidden relationship, it doesn't change the fact that they're your parents. Ella, rather, what it means is bishavel aviv kamar, that it means that your parents are similar to each other. That's what ru'uyah means. That's what appropriate. That's what fitting means. We mean literally like they resemble each other. They're similar. Tanya nami hachi. We learned similarly in a Braita. Rabbi Yehuda says, Im lo haita imo shavel aviv. If your mother is not similar to your father, equal to your father, bekol, in voice, ubimar'eh, and in appearance, uvikoma, and in height, eino na'aseh ben sorer u'moreh, you cannot become a ben sorer u'moreh. My tama, what's the reason? Da amar kra, the pasuk says, einenu shomea bekolenu, that he does not listen to our voice. So, and we interpret that kolenu means our voice, our singular voice. It must be their voices are the same. And it's mi de kol ba'inan shavin. And if we require their voices to be the same, mar'eh v'koma nami ba'inan shavin, that their appearance and their height we also require to be equal. So that's the reason for this statement of Rabbi Yehuda. So the Gemara wonders, Kiman Azla Hadatanya. So it means Kimo mi. Kimo mi Azla means like Holchim. Who is this person going like? Hadatanya, this following Breita. So there's a Breita that says, Ben Sorer Moreh lo hayav lo atid lihio. That a Ben Sorer Moreh, this halacha never happened and never will happen. Not in the future, but lama nichtav, and why is it written? Drosh v'kabel schar, to learn it and to gain something from it, to whether it's the reward of learning Torah or the hopefully the values that we've learned through this sugya. That's why it's written. It's not written for an actual practical halacha. Who is this guy following? Kiman, Kimomi, like who? Ki Rabbi Yehuda. He's clearly following the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, meaning that the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda is so clearly, it's going to make it impossible for this to ever happen. How often will you ever have parents that are the same height, have the same voice, and look the same? It must be that this guy who thinks that this Breita, which is saying that it's purely theoretical, must be following the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Ibayit Ema, or maybe this Breita is following Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon, that this Breita is following the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. Ditanya, as the Breita says, Amar Rabbi Shimon says, V'chimi pnei sha'achal zeh tretimar basar, because this kid ate a tretimar of meat, and v'shatach hatzilo gayin ha'italki, and he drinks a half log of Italian wine. Aviv imo motziin oto l'saklo. His father and mother are going to bring him out to kill him. Like what? The father, like his father, like this ever actually going to happen? Because he eats meat and drinks wine, his parents are gonna kill him. Ella lo hayav lo hatid lihiyot. Rather, this never happened and it never will happen. V'lama nichtav drosh v'kabel schar. So clearly, Rabbi Shimon is so bothered with how could this ever happen ethically and when would parents ever do that? So it must be that this is a theoretical, that this idea of it being it's purely a theoretical halacha. Good luck, guys.